Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lovely Freaks podcast. I'll be your host, Amanda, and I'm joined today by my sister,
Hannah.
And today, we're super excited to start this podcast. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a really long time now, for probably like a year, and my sister kind of encouraged me to do it. So I'm very excited. We're going to have a trailer up for you guys, so that way you can kind of listen to what we're going to be talking about, but I'll kind of give you a short overview. So we're going to talk about everything on this podcast, everything from murder to missing persons to folklore and ghosts and all different kinds of stuff. We're going to bring you haunted places, and we're just going to do a lot of research on all different topics. So if you are interested in that, please continue to listen to all of our episodes. But for today, if you saw the title, then you know what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about the BTK Killer. And you've never heard of this one before, right?
Nope, never heard of it.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of start off with his childhood.
Okay.
And then we'll just kind of run from there. So BTK was, to give you kind of like this guy was a loser.
Okay.
Okay. like extra loser. Aside from the fact that he was a serial killer, like he was a real big loser. So I'm going to start you off with just this small little tidbit of how big of a loser he was, and then we'll go back. Okay?
Okay.
So he would murder his victims, and he was called BTK because it was bind, torture, and kill.
Oh, I was thinking BLT, like he made a fucking BLT
No.
sandwich
Yeah.
before he murdered someone.
No.
Okay,
No.
that's a weird name.
No. BTK. And he actually gave himself that name.
Oh,
We'll talk about that.
wow.
So,
Loser. Okay.
yeah. So he used to bind his victims, and he would, have a good time.
Oh.
Pleasuring himself, shall we say.
Okay.
And while he would do that, you want to know what he called his orgasms that he would have? Only his orgasms that he would have while he was doing this to his victims.
What?
He called them Sparky Big Time.
Oh my god.
He legitimately called them
Did he call him like Sparky Big Time while he was coming? Like, I'm having a Sparky
Big Time. I don't know. Probably so. Probably that big of a jerk. So anywho, now let's take you back. So that just shows you how big of a loser he was. So his actual name was not BTK, obviously. His actual name was Dennis Rader, and he was born March 9th, 1945. His parents were Dorothea and William Rader, and he was one of 4 boys, which is weird because our dad's one of 4 boys. Yeah. He grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and that's kind of where all of his murders happened, was in Wichita. I think he moved back and forth, maybe after when he was born. I don't think he was born in Wichita. I can't really remember, but he grew up in Wichita most of his childhood. And he had a pretty normal childhood, like nothing serious happened in his childhood. You know how like we say nature versus nurture? Well, he didn't get abused or anything like that. But his childhood was kind of odd as far as himself. Mm-hmm. Let me explain. So, when he was only 4 years old, he claims this, and there's this book that he corresponded with this woman, and he would send her like memoirs and stuff like that while he was in prison. And in this book, like a lot of times he will say, oh, this attributed to me being crazy, or this attributed to me being crazy. So you have to take what he says with a grain of salt. But he says that when he was 4 years old, that was the first time he ever remembers being aroused by bondage. So he said that his mother she got her hand stuck in like the couch, and she was like freaking out. And because like if you're stuck, you're kind of like freaking out or whatever. And so she was struggling, and she told he was 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you guys, I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. So the fact that he was 4 and he's saying that this happened, like, kind of, I'm just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So he said that while she was struggling, like, he felt like this tingling sensation down there. And then he was, like, getting aroused.
I don't think you can do that when you're 4.
I don't think so either. But I was just like, sounds a little like a lie, but okay. And so, yeah, that's what he says. That's when he said he got his first taste of being turned on, shall we say, or whatever, by someone struggling. But I don't really know. So he loved serial killers. He tried to be this is how big of a loser he is. He tried to say, like, I remember one time he said that, and I think it was an interview or something, he would always say, well, Ted Bundy did it that way, so that's why I did it that way. So he, like, took different things from different serial killers and, like, tried to, like, mimic it, but he didn't do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
So, loser status high.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just... Anyways, back to his childhood. So he had a pretty normal childhood, but there was this one time where, well, first of all, he says that when he was, I believe, 11 or 12, which this part's weird because, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 12-year-old son, and he would say that he would go out to I guess they had a lot of land, and they had, like, cows and horses and things like that, and they had a farm. And his dad was, like, a really good dad. I mean, he was, like, hard worker, and he would, like, tell him, come out and try to get him to, like, use his hands and try to work with his hands and figure out stuff, which he did later, that attributed to his family life. So he kind of...
also sounds like our dad was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird. So he would say that he would go out to the water trough, or, like, the water silo, because I guess they had, like, a large one, so it was bigger than, like, the regular ones that you see for just 1 or 2 horses. And he would tie himself up and jack it out there.
What?
Just chilling by the water trough.
You tie yourself?
I don't know. That's what I keep thinking that every time. He says that he would tie...
It sounds like he's just a douchebag and he's making up these lies.
He would tie his hands and he would wrap something around his neck, because that's what he got excited off of, was, like, bondage and being wrapped up. Which, by the way, guys, I'm just going to disclaimer right here. If you are into that, be into that. That's totally cool. We're not saying, like, whatever. You like BDSM, you do you, boo-boo. But just, we're not saying that you're going to be a serial killer if you decide to like that. By no means. And this guy is just an exception to the rule, I guess you can say, as far as, like, he tries to use that as why he turned into a serial killer. But you can totally, like bondage and not go murder folks. So, anywho, but yeah, he would say that he was... So he would also... This part's really weird. And... like I said, you got to take what he says with a grain of salt, but I don't doubt that he did this. He would tie up dogs and then masturbate to them being tied up. Yeah. So, we know how we feel about bestiality.
Yep.
Nasty. And, so, well, I guess you couldn't really call it bestiality. I mean, he wasn't, I don't know. Anyways, so... he just did a lot of weird stuff as a kid and as a teenager. So he would also, like, he was a peeping Tom in the community. He liked to dress in women's clothes while he was, like, being a peeping Tom. And sometimes he would, like, masturbate in the bushes while he was watching women undress.
How old was he?
I believe during this time, so I believe it started when he was, like, 11. And it just kind of went on. I know in high school, though, he was kind of normal. Everything in high school kind of got normal, but he also was dating. So he was actually really good looking. Let me show you a picture of him. And then you can tell me, like, so this is what he looked like when he got arrested.
I was supposed to say,
No.
that's what you think is good looking? Okay. No. Okay, when he was younger?
No, when he was younger, when he was, like, in high school, that was him.
Oh, wow. He was good looking.
This is a good looking man. I don't know what the hell happened. No idea. But, you know. So, yeah. He had a pretty normal high school. He went to college, but he didn't stay in college very long. He dropped out, and he joined the Air Force in the mid-60s after he dropped out of college. And then from 1966 to 1970, that was how long he was in the Air Force for. And then when he got out of the Air Force in 1971, he married his wife, Paula. They married May 22nd, 1971, and they had 2 kids, Carrie and Brian. He said that he fell in love with her, like, right away, and I guess everything was kind of normal. I think he tried bondage with her once, and she was like, no, I don't like this. I think he, like,
And
tied
also,
her hands.
Can I just say, I'm so mad that all these serial killers get a family.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just makes me, like, I just think, oh, I'm never going to find anyone. And then I think, like, how many serial killers have a family? I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And also, how can you hide things from your family? I can't even.
Yeah, like, his wife said, like, she had absolutely no idea that he was doing this.
I can't even go to Walmart without my parents.
Walmart.
Walmart without my parents being like, where are you going? What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how these serial killers have a family and do all this extra shit.
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, I don't understand either. And he has the time to do this. And we'll talk about some of the stuff that he does. Like, some of the stuff, like, okay, he was a Boy Scout troop leader for his son's Boy Scouts. And he actually committed one of his murders, like, while they were on a camping trip. They all went to sleep. And he, like, went and committed a murder real quick and then came back. Yeah, it's crazy. So he earned an associate's degree in electronics in 1973, and then he got a bachelor's degree, and this part freaks me out. So his first murder was committed in 1974. Okay?
Yeah.
And then in 1979, he got a bachelor's degree in administration of justice. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's the study of law and how it applies to the criminal justice system. So in 74, he committed his first murder.
Yeah.
So what's that? In 79, he got his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So 5 years later. So yeah, that makes you think, okay, well, he must have went to school for that so he could figure out how he could work the justice system. And, like, how he could do certain things and get away with it or whatnot. Even though he wasn't the very smartest person in the world when it comes to his actual crimes. Some of them were, like, all over the place. Really. Really bad. We'll get to it. So, he started working at the airport. And I think his dad actually worked at the airport too, like, later on in life. And so he kind of, like, followed in his dad's footsteps, and he worked at an airport for a while. And then he got laid off from the airport. And he says that that's what kind of set his bad side off. Yeah, by the way, he calls his murder sprees and all that his bad side, but he has a good side. And then he also calls his murders, like, his projects and all this other crazy stuff.
Like a manipulative douche.
He is a narcissist at the
straight
best. Yeah, for sure. He thinks very highly of himself, but he is no Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer or nothing like that.
He must have been a spoiled rotten child.
Yeah, I mean, his. I think even at one point he said when he was younger that he would get whipped with a switch, and I was like, yeah, so does everybody else when they're young, especially back then. Like, we don't do that anymore, really, but I mean, like, when I was younger, I remember my parents being like, go pick me a switch to whip your ass with. Like, exactly. I'm like, no, you weren't the only one there, guy. So whatever. He's just he just like throws all this different stuff. Like he tries to psychologically analyze himself, and it's annoying.
Make it
It's
seem
very
like it's
annoying.
not his fault.
Yeah, like all this
Like the surroundings made him do it.
yeah.
But not really.
Yeah, his the way he was brought up and all the different things made him do it. But, you know, I mean, if you were beaten every day of your life, or there's serial killers that had it way worse. And I'm not like saying, oh, poor them. I'm just saying that that's probably what attributed to them being serial killers.
Yeah.
So let's get back to his life as a family man. So he also started working in 1974, which was the same year he committed his first murders, as an ADT installment guy. Do you know what ADT is?
No.
Do you remember that? I don't really think it's that big today, but ADT was a security home system.
Oh.
So, yeah, which I think is insane. He worked there for 14 years. So what he would do was, later on, you'll kind of get this, because he would call his killings his projects, and he would have like, he would stalk people, and he would like go around town and like follow people and watch them. The cat would not stop meowing. Okay, so what was I talking about? The cat threw me off.
His
ADT.
job. Yeah.
So he was working at ADT. So what that meant was he could go into people's homes. I mean, he was in hundreds of homes all over Wichita, just going in there and installing a security system. And that's terrifying to me to think about, because
he could not
that,
set
I mean,
it up good.
that could be, well, that, or he knows like how to cut it off and get in, which he does that a lot in his murders. Like he would cut the phone lines, which I'm pretty sure that ADT like works through the phone lines. So, because they have to like either call you, or because grandmama has one, but I don't think it's ADT, but it's something kind of like that. And so,
but like if you're calling 911, he could just cut the phone line.
Yeah. So he cuts the phone lines and all that when he does his murders. So yeah, he would also say that, like when he would go to someone's house, the woman or man or whoever was there, this is like later on when they actually started realizing that there was a serial killer out there, they would say, yeah, we wanted to get the security system installed because we're so scared of the BTK killer.
Oh, wow.
And he's the fucking dude.
And he's just standing there like,
standing there.
Well,
oh, yeah.
Sure.
That sucks, right?
Oh,
And
God.
he's installing it. Yeah, it's crazy. And if you haven't watched Mindhunter yet, have you? Mm-mm. So Mindhunter, which is amazing, season 1 and 2, and I wish they'd hurry up and come out with a third one, they talk about him, and like they are kind of leading up. By the end of the second season, they haven't quite started investigating him, but they're kind of leading up to it, and they do have all these like murders that they can't really figure out, because this guy eluded the police for 30 years. So, and we'll get into all that. So yeah, he also, another thing, and it reminds me of what you said earlier about how people can just be normal. So aside from having a family, aside from acting like a normal family man, working for ADT and all that stuff, he also attended church regularly, and he attended the Christ Lutheran Church, where he was the council president. Yeah, at the Christ Lutheran Church. And he also did something in that church in one of his murders, and we'll get to that. He was a troop leader, like I said, for his boys, or for his boy, his son's Boy Scouts, and it's just crazy to me that he could live a completely normal life. He didn't really have an MO as far as people either. So he did have an MO, like he would bind, torture, kill, but he threw off police a lot because he didn't have a certain age, because he kills children and he kills older women and younger women, and he even kills men. So he was just all over the place.
That's
so the
probably,
police were,
well, I don't know, because that probably was a good thing for the police, like not a good thing but a bad thing, because they couldn't pin like who he wanted.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
That's exactly right. Yeah, they couldn't figure out. I think there was one time they even thought that he was a college student, and we'll get to why they thought he was a college student. But yeah, it was just crazy. He would also also liked to tie himself up and like take pictures of himself, and then he would go back and look at those pictures and jerk it
straight
up. Like for real. Like
I can't even fucking look in the mirror. I can barely do that.
I can't even look in the mirror when I'm nude, much less like
I get in the shower and I see the mirror and I'm like, close your eyes the entire time. So
yeah, for sure. What do you want? Y'all, my cat is all up in this podcast. So that is that's pretty much it. And then we're gonna get to talking. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you this. Okay, so H.H. Holmes had a murder castle, right?
yeah.
But BTK, instead of a murder castle, because he was really, like, he loved H.H. Holmes and he really, like, held that to a high standard or whatever, he wanted a murder barn.
Redneck.
A murder barn. Yeah. I don't really know what that means. I don't know if he wanted to, like, lure people there and then murder them. I'm assuming so.
Killer, like, make a room?
Kind of like a toy box killer. The toy box killer. But, yeah, murder barn. Super,
did he do
super
it,
awesome.
No,
he didn't. That was his fantasy. That was the dream. That was the goal.
Oh.
That was the dream. I mean, he eluded police for 30 years, so yeah, he had to have some sort of goal to work forward to. Okay, so now we're going to get into the murders. And the first murder is pretty crazy, and it's kind of heavy, so just prepare yourself. So his first murder was January 15th, 1974. He murdered the Otero family. There was Joseph Otero, which was the father. He was 38. Julie, the mother, was 34. Josephine, the daughter, was 11. And the son, Joseph Jr., was 9. So he began. It was in the middle of the day, which a lot of his murders were in the middle of the day, which I find really strange. Like most people wait until, nighttime or something like that. So he had been stalking this family for a while. So he says, and initially he was just going to kill the mother and the children because he was going to wait till Mr. Otero went to work because he knew what time he went to work. Well, the day that he went to murder them, I think he hopped the back fence and he cut the phone line, and he also had a gun. He had a gun on him every time. I think it was a 44 Magnum. I don't know. I'm going to get... People are going to come at me for that. So, anyways, Junior opened the back door. Joseph Jr., the 9-year-old, he opened the back door to let the dogs out. And when he did, Dennis was there, aka BTK. He began to suffocate. Well, let me back up. So when Junior opened the door and he stuck the gun in their face and the dad was there, when he saw the dad, he was kind of freaked out because he was supposed to be at work, but I think he was homesick because he had an ATV, some sort of accident, like a car accident maybe, and his back was hurt. And so he was home from work. Well, he told them, and he would tell this to a lot of his victims, he told them that he was going to rob them and that he was like
this is just a robbery.
What's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. Like where you're on the run? Like a escaped convict. I couldn't think of it. Okay.
He's wanted.
Yeah, he's a wanted. That's exactly what it'd say. He was like, I'm a wanted guy, and he'd stick the gun in their face. And he loved the idea of pretending like he wasn't going to kill somebody and then did it, and then thinking, okay, we're going to live. This guy's just going to rob us and he's going to get out, So I think he started by tying up all the family members. And he even said in court that Mr. Otero had a back injury, so he got a pillow for
Oh my
him.
God.
Yeah, he does that a lot in this. And we're going to get to some more murders where he does some shit
I
that...
got her a pillow. I know I murdered her, but like
Yeah.
I got her a pillow.
It gets even
douchebag.
better. So, yeah. He tied up all the family members, and then he began to suffocate them. I think he suffocated Mr. Otero first. He put a plastic bag over his head and then a pillowcase, if I remember correctly. And then he did the same thing to the mother. And I think there was some like, they would, he wasn't very good at it at the beginning. And I've read conflicting stuff where some people say that some reports say that he just suffocated him and that was that, but then he says that they kept coming to. So he suffocated these people over and over again because they kept coming to because he wasn't doing it right. You know what the fuck he was doing, evidently. And so they would pass out and then wake back up, over and over again, which is awful to me in the first place. The little boy was found with his feet bound on the floor, face up, with a bag over his head and a pillowcase. And then the girl, which he says in court, he took the little girl downstairs and he hung her from the water pipe. And while she was struggling, this one's bad, while she was struggling, she continued to scream for her mommy.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
And there was some speculation about whether or not he masturbated at this scene, because a lot of his scenes he would masturbate at. He would never rape the victims, but he would, like, after they died, he would masturbate, or while they were dying by strangulation or whatever, he would masturbate because that was his thing. Whatever. So there was a chair in the corner at one of these, at the Josephine, when she was hanged, there was a chair in the corner, and they think that he like sat in the chair and like watched her, possibly masturbated. He says that he didn't do that, but he did masturbate because there was semen found at the crime scene. So, yeah, that was the bad, and one of the really bad things was they had 3 other kids. They were older kids. There was a 14-year-old, 15, 14, and 13. And they came home to that. And they called the police.
That's awful.
So, yeah. And the one good thing is that they didn't go downstairs and see their sister because she was hanging from the pipe. And she also had her underwear pulled down. So, I'm sure the police assumed when they first saw her that she had either been sexually assaulted or raped. But then they found out she had not. But yeah, the 13, and I think even like today, the 15, I think the 15-year-old still struggles with some of it even today, like struggles seeing all that. I don't think the other kids actually like went in the house. I think he went in first. I think they kind of went in the house. They did go in the house because they thought that the mom and dad were like pulling a prank because they were just, laying there and they didn't know that they were dead. But then they realized, and so they called the police. So yeah, that was the first murder he ever committed, which, was not quick and not easy. And he even says like it was one of his messiest ones. But I don't really think so, because you're going to hear, like, a lot of these murders, it's just like, oh, dude, Dennis, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're sucking. I mean, like, hard. So his second murder, which would be his 5th victim, was Kathy Bright on April 4th, 1974. So in January, he killed the Otero family, and then in April, he had been stalking Kathy, of course, again. And he did this with all of his victims. He would stalk them, except for one. There was one victim, I believe, that was kind of random. And we'll get into that one. So, Kathy showed up to her house. I think he went through the back door, and he thought she was there, but she wasn't. So he just kind of hung out and, like, waited for her to get back because he knew when she was supposed to come back, or he knew that she was supposed to come back or be there because he had been stalking her for like weeks. So she comes through the door, and as soon as she comes through the door, she's with her brother Kevin, and he pulls out his gun again, puts it in her face, and says, "I'm wanted in another state. I'm on the run. I need food and money and a place to stay," and his whole spiel that he normally does. He tries to tie up Kevin. And in the courts, so I watched the whole 45 minutes of him he confessed to the police for 30 hours. 30 hours. I didn't watch that.
Damn.
I didn't read the transcript because there wasn't on film. I didn't read the transcript because ain't nobody got time. So, but I did watch his 45-minute confession in court, because when he was in court, he pled guilty. So the judge had to ask him about every single count, and he told about every single count and every single murder. So in court, he says very narcissistically that the judge asked what he used to tie up Kevin and Kathy. And he said, I believe I used something that was there that they had in the room. He's like, yeah, I used something. He said, yeah, I had to have, because if I would have used my stuff, Kevin wouldn't have got away. He'd have been dead today. Yeah, that kind of douche. Yeah, he's like
you're bragging about yourself.
Because he was like, if I would have used my ropes, because he had a kill kit.
You're on trial, dude.
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up.
He had a kill kit, is what he called them, and it had like rope and gloves and all different kinds of stuff in it.
What did he use? Do you know?
For this?
Yeah, what did he use to tie him up?
For Kathy and Kevin, I think he said he used like some stockings or something like that, or socks or whatever. So it wasn't anything super great, and that's what happened. Kevin got loose, and they started struggling, and then he shot Kevin in the side of the head. And, well, he claims that Kevin tried to shoot him, and then he stuck his finger in the barrel and stopped it and jammed it. Because he's God.
Way.
I know. But Kevin later says that the gun actually jammed. And then he got the gun away from him, and then he shot him. Mm-hmm. So, but the bad part about it is, well, we'll get to that. I'm skipping ahead. Okay, so Kevin falls on the floor. He thinks that he's dead. He goes to finish Kathy. He goes to bind her up and do what he's going to do, strangle her. Well, then Kevin wakes up after being shot in the side of the head. He wakes up. He runs in there to his sister because he hears her struggling. And she's kind of getting out of her bonds because obviously he's not using his ropes, as he likes to say. Because if he'd have brought his stuff, everything would have been fine. But anyways, this guy's such a douche. He gets on my nerves. And he's not even like that cool. Like, he's not a cool douche. He's not like, suave and debonair Ted Bundy. He's just like the loser douche that wants to be like them, but so isn't. Anyways, so I'm getting way off topic. So Kevin runs in there and he goes to, help his sister. Well, he shoots him again in the face. Kevin makes it, bro.
Are you serious?
Kevin is a badass.
Kevin is a badass. Where is this dude? Like, straight up.
He shoots him in the face. Kevin stumbles down, like, out the door. And somehow, I think he goes to the neighbor's house, or he, like, tries to make it to the neighbor's house, or someone sees him or something like that. And then Dennis said that everything was just going awry. So Dennis said, I just started stabbing Kathy. And he stabbed her, I think, 3 times. He stabbed her 3 times in the stomach and once in the back, I believe, or upper ribs. And she was still alive after he left, but she died on the way to the hospital. Kevin, however, did survive, but he could not tell them. Like, he told them a description, but it was kind of like a generic description. Because
I was about to say, did he wear a mask or something?
No, he didn't wear a mask to any of these.
That's stupid.
Yeah, and but his deal was that he was going to kill everybody, so it didn't really matter.
Well, yeah. But, like, in that situation, they might have escaped. So he
exactly.
needs a back plan.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
So I love how you're like,
yeah, you need a
wear a
back
fucking
plan.
mask, dumbass.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he tells them a description, but it's not a very good description. I mean, and to be honest, Dennis Rader, he's kind of like a generic guy. I mean, he looks like everybody else. There's nothing distinct on him. He doesn't have any distinct markings or anything like that. I mean, he wears glasses, but I don't know how many other people wear glasses in this town. Yeah. And he had hair at this point. That picture that you saw of him when he got captured was in 2005. That's how long. Keep in mind, he didn't get arrested till 2005. His first murder was committed in 1974. So he killed 10 people during this span. So yeah, very generic face. So it was really hard for the police to kind of find him. And then obviously back then they didn't really have DNA like it is today. Otherwise that dude would have been, semen left at the crime scene. I mean, he would have been long gone. Well, if his DNA would have been in a database, which that is a whole nother topic in itself. I feel like, and maybe I know people don't think this, but I feel like every single person, like at birth or something, should have to like give a DNA sample.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. And there's a lot of controversy about even now with people using like the, what's it called? Like the Ancestry. Because that's how they call it the Golden State Killer, was his daughter had done like an ancestry background or something like that, and they caught him that way because they had like a sample, and they thought that it was this guy, so he had never been arrested for anything, and so they caught him like that because they like got a sample from his daughter, and there's a lot of controversy about whether or not that should be like legal or not, and I'm just like, well, don't fucking be a serial killer, and then you won't have to worry about it. I'll gladly give you my DNA because I know I'm not supposed to kill nobody ever.
I think it should be fine.
So,
if you're not going to be
and if I do kill somebody, then I deserve to go to prison. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why people. It's probably only the people that have killed somebody that are freaking out about it,
or like do robberies and stuff or something.
Yeah. So anywho. So in okay. Where am I at here? What was I talking about? Oh, I talked about Kathy. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was in April 4th, 1974. So October 22nd, 1974, he called the police and told them that there was a letter at the library that he needed to go pick it up. They needed to go pick it up. Because there were 3 other guys claiming that there's some controversy about, like, I couldn't find it exactly whether they were confessing to the murders or whether they were saying they knew who the murderer was. I couldn't figure that out. Because some articles say that they were confessing, and then some articles say that they were just going to tell who the murderer was, but they really didn't have any idea. So BTK found out about this, or Dennis Rader at the time, because he had not had a name yet, and he got pissed, and he was like, oh, no, that is not how that went down. I'm the killer. So he literally wrote a letter to the police, and he told them it was at the library, and they went, and they got the letter, and in the letter there was detailed descriptions of what happened to the Otero family, and he was like, yeah, that was me. Here's what I did. And so at that moment they knew, okay, they don't have the right people. This is the dude that killed the Otero family, because they had not even released half of the stuff that he was talking about to the public. So there's no way anybody else would have known that. And he said in the letter that he would kill again. And at the bottom he signed it BTK. Which, side note, he actually gave the police different names to call him.
Oh
different
my
options.
God.
Different options. Would you choose?
Oh my God.
So, here's just a few of his names. The Poetic Strangler.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we'll get to why it was the Poetic Strangler in a little bit. The Bondage Strangler, which kind of makes sense. Wichita Executioner. Yeah, he said that. He went there. And then, I can't remember the other one. there was like 2 other ones I can't remember.
I love how he made he probably made a big ass list,
the
and then
BTK,
he was like, I like this one, and this one.
The BTK Strangler, which makes no sense because it's contradictory to itself, because it's just strangling's all already in there with the binding, so whatever. But yeah, so he did that damn thing. He did the damn thing, and obviously the police were like, we'll just stick with the thanks, bro, but we'll just go with whatever you signed there at the bottom. Yeah. You signed BTK at the bottom of the letter, so
he's like,
what?
Yes, what sounds better? And the cops are like, like the cops were gonna be like, you know what? That sounds really cool. We should call him this. Like, who the? No.
Like they had a poll and they fucking voted in the police department.
Voted. I think that one's cool.
Yeah, well, a lot, like, he puts way too much. Like, we're buddies.
Does he think that he's a fucking superhero or something?
Dude, like, he puts way too much buddy into the police, and that actually ends up getting him caught, and we're gonna go into that because that is hilarious in itself. Like, the way he gets caught is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life when it comes to a serial killer. It should literally be like, what's that, what is it, like Bugs Bunny? But the Warner Brothers. It should be a Warner Brothers cartoon, like the way he gets caught. So anyways, I digress. So we're going to skip. So it takes him 3 years before he commits another murder. But the next one that he commits is pretty crazy. So it is Shirley Relford. I think I said that right. March 17th, 1977. So this is 3 years after Kathy Bright. This one was completely random. He actually was going to kill... So, he actually stalked this other family that lived down the street from them. And he says that in court. And he ends up not killing this other family. He ends up killing her because he sees her son, I believe, outside playing. And he kind of like watches him, and then I think he talks to him and asks him something, and then he watches where he goes, and he goes right down the street from where he was gonna do this murder because, this was his project, is what he calls them. And so instead he decides to go to this other house where this little boy went to. So Shirley Redford was 24, and she had 3 kids. One was 4, 5, and 8, I believe. So when he came in, he opened the door, and he just kind of forced his way into the door because I think either the kids opened the door or something like that, and he had a gun, so he just kind of forced his way in. It was super easy for him to get into this house. And so he told her, as soon as he came through the door, he told her, this time he didn't tell her he was on the run or anything like that. He told this woman that he had a sexual fantasy, and she needed to help him with his sexual fantasy by being tied up. But he didn't actually think, like, I'm pretty sure she thought she was just going to get raped. She wasn't going to, get killed, because he didn't say, I'm going to kill you. I've just got this sexual fantasy, and I need you to help me fulfill it, is what he said. He said they sat on the back porch and talked and smoked. He let her smoke. Have a cigarette break. Oh, isn't that nice? Then he put the kids in the bathroom with toys, and she helped him put them in the bathroom. I think he tried to tie them up outside of the bathroom first, but obviously they were like freaking out because they're 4, 5, and 8. Yeah. And so he says this isn't going to work. So she helps him put the kids in the bathroom and puts toys in. Oh my God. He says in court, well, we put toys in there and we put blankets in there so that way that would comfort them. Yeah, because there's nothing more comforting than that being happening while your mother's getting killed outside the bathroom door. Exactly. Piece of shit. So he does that, and then they put a couch up against the door or something up against the door to block it to keep the kids from coming out. But obviously the whole time the kids are banging on the door because they know something's going on. So then he says that he took Shirley to the bedroom, and he told her he was gonna bind her up now. Well, then she gets sick because apparently she was at home from work and she was sick that day. And so he tells her, or she says, I'm going to get sick, and she throws up. So he goes and gets her a glass of water and rubs her on the back to soothe her. Those are his exact words. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why is he even bringing this up? Like, dude, you murdered people. Like, who the fuck cares?
Because he says later on, he says that he actually had compassion because he would do nice things for people. Like Joseph Ortera, where he got the pillow for his back. And then Shirley, where he got her a glass of water and rubbed her back.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He's so nice.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't make any sense to me. No, it's just the fact that I believe it's the fact that he's a narcissist, and he wanted to make them believe that he was not going to murder them, or he wasn't going to do anything really bad. Like, could you imagine this woman? She's probably sitting there thinking, this dude's rubbing my back.
And giving me water. She probably
and
thinks,
he's fixing to rape me, weird, probably.
But he'll probably go away.
Yeah.
He'll kill me.
Hopefully he'll leave after this ordeal, and I know what he looks like, so I'm just going to sit here, and then I'm going to call the police when he leaves. So anywho, he then begins to, so after he gives her the water and rubs her back, whatever, he strangles her with a rope, and it's rope that he brought, because if he brings it, they're going to die. It sounds like that movie. If you build it, they will come. Anyways, such an idiot. He's such a loser. God. He gets on my last nerves, in case you guys haven't, figured that out yet.
Yeah, I think we picked it up.
Yeah. So he said that the kids were being really loud. They were banging on the door, and then the phone started ringing, and he assumed that when the phone started ringing, he thought, okay, well, the neighbors are probably fixing to come over. So he just kind of cleaned up real quick and got out of there, which he says that if none of that would have happened and the kids would have been quiet, he said that he was going to murder the kids too. Yeah, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old, because he's a piece of shit. And so he didn't know this, but I think one of the kids either got, the 8-year-old either got out after he got out through a window in the bathroom after he left, or during the time that he was still there cleaning up. And he went to the neighbor's house and he called the police, or told them, and the neighbors called the police, and then they went and they found their mom. So yeah, very sad string of events. And that was that. And so the police were kind of stumped, because they had this murder where this person had just killed this entire family. Then they had this kind of robbery situation, is what it looked like, with Kathy, where her brother got shot in the face. Nobody got shot in the first murder. And then they had this one where it was just the mom that got murdered and not the kids. So they were completely confused, and I would be too, because if you thought it was a serial killer from the first one, the only thing that was connecting all these was the fact that there was somebody being bound up. Yeah. Or strangled or something like that. So that was in 1977 in March. That was Shirley. And then in December 1977, December 8th, we have Nancy Fox. She was 25. She was his 7th murder. We're going through all these murders. Whew. I need a break. But this one is pretty bad as well. So he actually called the police at 8 a.m. in the morning, because he just loves to make himself known. He called the police at 8 a.m. in the morning, and he actually told them, he said that there was a homicide. He told them the address, and he told them the victim's name, Nancy Fox. And the police were like, what? And he said, there's a homicide. I did it. It was Nancy Fox, and he told him the address. So at the time, they had just came out with the, what's it called, where you can trace calls and stuff like that.
I guess. I know what you're talking
about. How the police can trace calls, okay?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So they just came out with this, so they actually were able to trace the phone call back to this payphone, and we'll get to them going to the payphone. We'll get to there. So he watched her. during his patrolling Nancy Fox. He watched her. He watched her for a couple days, and then he decided that that was going to be his hit, as he likes to call it.
His project.
His project. He walked to her home at night, and he cut the phone lines and broke in and waited in the kitchen for her to get home. Apparently, she wasn't home yet. So she got home, and he told her again, like he told Miss Shirley, that he wanted her to fulfill a sexual fantasy for him, and he had a problem with it. And he was going to tie her up and have sex with her. So right away, she's thinking, okay, I'm just going to get raped. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
He said that they smoked on the back porch.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. And I don't really know if that's true. Like, I feel like that's probably...
Is there evidence to his so-told
I don't
story?
know. Yeah, I have no idea.
Or is he just trying to make the court think that he's like, oh, he's such a great guy.
Yeah,
he's
he let her have
people.
a smoke break. Look at that. So he handcuffed her, and she wanted to... Oh, God. He said that she wanted to keep on a pink sweater, and so he said that was fine. Made her think that everything was going to be okay after he raped her.
Everything's going to be okay even though I'm raping you. It's
yeah.
fine.
He let her keep... And he was like, I'm such a gentleman, I let her keep on the pink sweater. She didn't have to completely get nude. Okay. Whatever, Dennis. And he handcuffed her and then laid her on the bed, and he got naked. He climbed on top of her, and obviously she thought she was fixing to get raped, and she probably thought, okay, this is it. I'm fixing to get raped, and he's going to leave. But no. He strangled her with the belt. After strangling her, he removed the handcuffs, tied her with pantyhose, and then masturbated beside her while she was dead, and then cleaned up and left.
So did he ever rape any of his victims?
No, he didn't. He never raped any of his victims. He did say later on, which I think this is like him trying to claim to be a badass. I don't really think this is true. He told the police in a letter, he claimed that he brought her back to life after she passed out, and then whispered in her ear, I'm the BTK killer. And then, to which she probably thought, okay, because the public didn't know about BTK yet.
Yeah.
Which,
What?
they knew there was, like, something going on, but they didn't know there was a serial killer on the loose yet.
Wait, did she die?
And then he strangled her. Yeah.
Why would you?
He's saying that she just passed out, and then he, like, splashed water on the face, I don't know, slapped her, got her back, and then was like, I'm BTK.
Like, he's
and
a
then,
fucking
like,
metal group.
Yeah.
Like, I'm BTK. You've been raped but me. Girl, I just killed you.
Or you've been strangled.
And she's just like, oh my god, it's really you. Like,
yeah.
Like you're a fucking
rocker. Say it ain't so.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I don't think that's true. A lot of people don't think that's true. They think that he's just trying to, say that he was, this badass that... I don't know. I don't know. I just keep saying that over and over again. Anyways, so yeah, he does all that, and then he called the police at the beginning of this, right?
Yeah.
So after he claimed the crime scene and left, he went to the payphone. Well, there was actually, when they got to the payphone, there wasn't anybody there, obviously, but they asked around, like, if there were any witnesses. Sorry, you guys. Had to yawn. So they asked if there were any witnesses, and there actually were. But they couldn't really tell them. Like, they told him a description, but yet again, it was just a generic description. Like, this dude, I mean, I don't know. I'm a big believer in, like, pay attention to your surroundings, and this is a perfect example of that. Like, pay attention to your surroundings, guys, because you could literally be looking at someone that just murdered somebody and have no clue, but you need to, like, at least be given some good details. I mean, I feel like if they would have maybe knew the color of his glasses and the color of his eyes and the shape of his nose or something.
Yeah.
Somebody could have drawn like a composite and it look just like him. But they couldn't really get any kind of good description off of him. Off of what this guy said. So then in January 31st, 1978, so he sends a postcard to a newspaper. And the newspaper, it has a poem in it. So this is why he calls himself the Poetic Strangler.
Yeah.
As he liked to call him. Whatever.
Right, William Shakespeare.
Yeah. William Shakespeare. So he in the postcard poem it says, Surely locks, wilt thou be mine? Which Shirley was the woman with the three kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then a poem, and then there was another line that said, a poem for a fox is next. So basically saying he was going to send a poem about Nancy Fox next. Yeah. 10 days later, he sent a letter to the Cake TV news crew, which Cake TV, I guess, was like a thing in, where are we at? Wichita, Kansas. Police picked it up, and since they didn't publish his first poem, he was upset in the second letter, and he said, and I quote, how many more people do I have to kill before I get some publicity? So he was pissed because the town and the news didn't know about him. They didn't know about BTK yet. And so the police decided, okay, we can either not tell, which I don't know why they didn't tell people before this. I guess they didn't want to panic anybody, but whatever. We're not going to get into that. So I feel like they should have told the public after like the third one.
Just to beware. And
beware,
let people in their house and stuff and answer the door to strangers.
Exactly. So the police decided, okay, we're gonna, do what this guy wants. And they went on the news and they told everyone about, BTK. And the community was in a state of panic after this, obviously. And a lot of people would like call the police because they thought that maybe they saw somebody like hiding in their closet, or they would get home and maybe the door would be unlocked and they don't remember if they locked it or not. Yeah. So they would call the police, which is fine. I mean, that's the really good thing to do. A lot of people would install security systems, like I said, but it didn't really matter because Dennis was working for him. Yeah. So, he was the guy that is the craziest part to me. Like, that's so scary. And it makes me leery of, like, anybody coming to my house. Like, I have an insurance adjuster coming next week. And I'm just like, I don't really know how I feel about that.
Like, blindfold him while he walks into your house.
Just be like, I'm going to meet you down the street. And then I'm going to walk you blindfolded down to my house. And then, I don't know, I'll walk you back. But he's got to go outside, so that don't make any sense. But anyways, just things like that. It makes you wonder. But that's why I'm going to have our dad, like I told Dad, I was like, you need to come over because my husband's not here right now. He's in the Army, so he's gone for a month. And I was like, I want you here when he comes here because I'm going to be by myself. The kids are going to be at school, and that's what all you guys need to take a life lesson here. Like, if you ever have to have somebody come to your house, even if it's, if you're a woman, and even if it's like the internet guy or the cable guy, just make sure you have either a gun or a weapon, or
somebody there with
you. Or have somebody there with you. Yeah, for sure. So that was 1978, and now we're going to talk about Anna Williams, who was the only person to ever get away. And I'm good on her because it kind of traumatized her. Anna Williams, this was April 28th, 1979. She was 67. She went dancing, I guess like line dancing or something like that. And she was supposed to come home because he knew, obviously, because this was one of his projects again. He stalked her, and he knew that she was going to go dance and then she was going to come back at a certain time, but she didn't. She actually went to her daughter's house, which is great. But the next morning, when she got home, she realized that her phone line had been cut and the window was open. And she was missing some items that actually several months later, he wrote a poem about her and he sent the items to the police. Like, he wrote the poem, sent it to the police, and there were some items in there that he had actually gotten from her drawers. So they knew that, you know, he was the one that did this. So he wrote a poem for her.
Of course.
So would you like to hear the poem?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to read the whole thing. And yeah, this is what he sent to the police, confessing that he tried to kill her. Okay. It's, "Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?" This is his poetic side. This is his deepest.
His emo side.
Yeah, this is his emo. That was perfect because he's such a loser. This is his emo side coming out.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm trying to do this without laughing. "Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?"
Because she didn't. Really? Did he like write this while he was waiting for her?
Probably in the closet.
We're not laughing because of the death in it. We're laughing because he's
Well,
such
she
a
didn't die.
dumbass.
She got away.
Yeah, well,
So,
you know.
The almost death. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
not
I
laughing
could
at that.
literally
We're
see
laughing-
him writing
Yeah.
this in the closet while waiting. Like,
His floppy hair just like pushing his
Man.
hair aside.
why didn't you appear? Okay, so anyways. Seriously, serious face. Gotta do this
Okay.
poem. Alright. "So, Anna, why didn't you appear? 'Twas perfect plan."
I'm sorry.
You've got to
She
stop.
said "twas" and it was like, are you serious?
Okay, I'm gonna be okay.
Perfect plan of deviant pleasure, so bold on a spring night. My inner feeling hot. I can't get through this with that face you're
I'm
making.
sorry. Okay,
I'm dying over
let's
here.
pretend like it's William Shakespeare.
I wish that we had a camera so you could see her facial expressions. My inner feeling hot with... I can't get through this. Anyways, we'll put it up, or we'll put a slide up of this poem and you guys can read it, but it's ridiculous. I mean,
It doesn't even sound good. It just sounds like a 5th grader wrote it.
it's not. I mean, it's really not good. Like, I don't know why he calls himself a poet. And he even says that, like, he says later on when he's in prison and he's writing these stories or these memoirs or whatever you want to call them, he says that, you know, his poetic side, like, he felt like he should have been a poet. He felt like he should have been a writer. I mean, maybe go for that instead of serial killer. You know, that was an option. Ugh. Drop of fear, fresh spring rain would roll down from my nakedness, the scent of lofty fever that burns within. In that small world of longing, fear, rapture, and desperation, the game we play fall on devil ears. Yeah, he said that.
The naked body. I'm still at the naked body.
He
My
can't
mind
even-
is still there.
Fantasies spring forth, mounts to storm fury, then winter calm at the end. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Oh, that's like the only part that rhymes
Yeah.
during this whole thing, is he says that over and over again. Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear? Alone now in another time span, I lay with sweet enrapture, garments across most private thoughts, bed of spring, moist grass. He just says spring and spring like over again. Like, I feel like I'm reading the same line over and over again. But anyways, yeah, you guys can see it. Well, we'll post it on there, but that was one of his grand poems. One of those awesome things that he wrote. So, Anna obviously, after this whole scenario, and she saw the poem, I believe, or the police told her about it and told her, you know, he had your garments or he had some things of yours, so we know it was definitely BTK. She left town. She got out. She moved. She moved far away. Not sure where she moved, but good on her. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So they were also released the phone call to the police that he made about Nancy Fox, you know, when he called and told them there was a homicide, but nobody could like place his voice. And probably not, because he had, in the recording, it doesn't even sound like his voice. It sounds like, which I know they didn't have, I don't think that they had like a robotic style for you to like talk into. Like they do now, where you can mask your voice, but it was really strange sounding. Or either he was just trying to be like on point, like, you know, homicide, Nancy Fox,
Oh my god.
address, blah 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 blah
Maybe
blah.
he was trying to make it so they
Sound like it, yeah, obviously. So that was Anna Williams, and I think we're going to stop right here, and then we're going to pick it up with a second episode. But you guys can go ahead and just... But we wanted to kind of split this up because this is a long one. But I'm not going to make you guys wait like a week or two or whatever to get to the second episode. So if you liked this episode and you want to continue listening, just go on over to episode 2, and we'll see you guys over there in just a bit. Bye.